If you are sensitive to topics of almost dying and traumatic births, I would advise you to take caution when reading this post. Story time. I was 11 days late, and since my mother and father went to the hospital because the hospital recommended that they break her water themselves and get started with my birth. So my parents arrived, and the nurse breaks my mother's water, but of course, nothing happened. She did not go into labor, and there were no signs of me coming out anytime soon. But apparently the hospital was full of idiots, as well as the person who did my mother's ultrasounds, because no one realized I was literally sideways. No wonder I was late and wouldn't come out _. Anyway, after they realized, my mother had to go through an emergency C-section. It seems the horror story is over, right? Nope. To top it off, my mother also has a genetic bleeding problem, which means her blood doesn't clot well. During the surgery, she lost so much blood that she was on the verge of death. They had to perform another emergency surgery to remove her uterus. After that, my mother was obviously out for a couple of days, but pulled through in the end and got to see me. Happy ending, right? End of story? Nope. Turns out, on top of all this madness, she had developed an infection due to this, which was covering half of her organs. The hospital gave her antibiotics to get rid of the infection. Still not the end of the story, cause then it escalated even further. The antibiotics were apparently shit, because although they slowly helped, after a month the infection came back full speed. The hospital finally made the long overdue decision to take care of the infection properly, and finally my mother was no longer on the verge of death. My parents unfortunately ended up not suing the hospital since they were very tired from all of this, understandable. Throughout all these events, my father was suffering, not knowing whether or not his wife would die, leaving just me and Dad alive, in a country where we had no other family at all. She ended up surviving though, as you already know.